First tonight, massive development or mass hysteria. When Michael Cohen pled guilty to lying to Congress yesterday, you would have thought the conversation might kind of center on what that development meant for Cohen, you know, the one who actually admitted to lying. But instead, as is their track record, pundits and Democrats made a Herculean leap to the president, suggesting some wild things in the process.
It's been a really huge day in the Mueller investigation. Our blockbuster news, the president's former fixer and keeper of secrets, apparently not keeping those secrets anymore. I'm talking about Michael Cohen.
He's got a good case for collusion. I mean, if this were a mafia investigation, Trump would be indicted under RICO. No question about it.
He got healthy on his congressional false statement charges by coming clean today. He's a much more dangerous witness.
The president is right to be nervous right now because it appears that time is running out. It's become very clear that the Trump campaign colluded with the Russians in trying to subvert the election.
But is that necessarily the case? Last night we spoke to someone who might know a thing or two about this, such as former Whitewater Deputy Independent Counsel Saul Weisenberg, who, as fans of the show know, is as honest as they come. Watch.
All Cohen said is that I lied to Congress. He didn't say that President Trump helped me lie. So there could be all kinds of things that Mueller is keeping quiet from us that we don't know about, that Cohen has told him. That's possible, but that's the realm of speculation. Let's talk about reality, and reality is this is a nothing burger.
Here to make sense of it all, Alan Dershowitz, Professor Emeritus at Harvard Law School and author of the book, The Case Against Impeaching Trump. Alan, is Trump shaking in his boots over all this, or is Saul right, a big nothing burger?
Well, I think it's a little bit of both. Look, the president should be concerned because he's not going to get an objective, neutral, nuanced report from Mueller. Mueller is going to try to create a narrative that takes all of these perjury and lying charges and tries to weave them into something against the president. But I think this all shows the extraordinary weakness of the Mueller investigation. If you look at everything he's come up with, the vast majority of crimes are things that happened after he became special counsel, not before. He was appointed to uncover crimes that had already occurred. Instead, he helped foment crimes by creating these perjury traps, having people fall into them, and then trying to flip them as witnesses. Now, you don't have to believe me on that. Listen to Judge Ellis. Judge Ellis, who was presiding over the Manafort case, said that what Mueller is doing looks like he's trying to make these people not only sing, but perhaps under certain circumstances, even compose. And it doesn't show a strong prosecution case when everybody who's been indicted virtually is either indicted for lying or indicted for unrelated financial activities that have nothing to do with the president. At the moment, it's hard to know where's the beef. Where is the actual substantive crimes that relate directly to the relationship between the campaign and Russia? And also, we have to always remind ourselves, collusion is not a crime. It is not a crime to use material stolen from Assange. It is not a crime to build a tower in Moscow.
Right, I was just going to get to that. I mean, it was hilarious to me to watch some of the chyrons blaring across the lower third of screens on the other cables last night. You might as well have thought that Donald Trump was caught on tape in Moscow, like high-fiving Putin and saying, good, thanks for giving us all those votes and, you know, name your state. But the way they were describing
even that wouldn't be a crime. Even that wouldn't be a crime. You have to find something in the statute books.
Yeah. So,
Alan, there are political sins, but the difference between a sin and a crime is the difference between a democracy and tyranny.
Well, and this has been the case from the beginning. We've had all these little tidbits of information that have trickled out, all these so-called bombshells, Alan, and one after the other have kind of faded away or been completely disproven. And Byron York wrote an interesting piece today. I want to quote from it. It's titled, Remember Prague? In Michael Cohen plea deal, Mueller says nothing about key collusion allegation. The plea shows that Mueller closely scrutinized everything Cohen told Congress. So if Mueller had evidence that Cohen's definitive denial of the Prague story in the same document was false, it seems reasonable to conclude that Mueller would have charged Cohen for it. Yet in the charges against Cohen, Mueller said absolutely nothing about Prague. Remember the Prague meeting? That was supposed to be another nail in the coffin of Donald Trump and showing real collusion. No mention. Nothing.
But it's so important to understand that you have to look first to the statute books. And you can't look to these vague, broad statutes like obstruction of justice or conspiracy. You have to find specific mens rea, actus rea criminal results. And it seems to me the Mueller fans, in their haste to try to find anything on Trump, are forgetting basic core civil liberties. And that is the ex post facto clause of the Constitution, the due process clause, require that you find a specific criminal act that's already prohibited by the statute, and then you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt.
Right, so that goes back to the special counsel. It should never have been started. Yeah, it should never have been
That's right.
Kicked off in the first place. It was a mistake from the beginning. The way the letter was written from Rosenstein authorizing it all the way through to today, you called this from the very beginning. Others did as well. And I think it's once again, it's like a test case in why we have real constitutional concerns about these prosecutors who have very little supervision over what their ultimate.
And then the next issue is Mueller going to try to produce his report and have it made public before the president's team has an opportunity to review it, respond to it, and issue their report simultaneously. Basic fairness, our adversary system, all requires that there can't be a presumption that anything a prosecutor says, whether in an indictment or a report, is to be presumed true. That would undercut the presumption of innocence. You have to have the two reports issued simultaneously. Let the American public judge whether or not the report rebutted and answered really establishes crimes, impeachable offenses, or any of the other things that Mueller may be looking for. And I have a high level of suspicion that in the end we're going to see a lot of indictments for perjury and lying, a lot of indictments for financial fraud against other people, but we're not going to ultimately see any crimes directed against the President of the United States. Look, that could change, but at the moment it doesn't appear that way.
Yeah, we'll see what else they might have in their quiver.